here we are with the San Juan Basin as it looks today. New operators in the San Juan. We have Hillcorp and the old El Paso Conoco stuff here in pink. We've got DJR in green. They took over the Encana Dugan properties. Lagos is in red. They took over WPX and then Energen here on the south, and WPX is in yellow. They took over the WPX oil properties. EOG is down here with 3.5 townships, and San Juan is here, and our oil play here on the south and our gas play up here. Not to forget, ICAV bought out the legacy Amoco BP assets. So Rich Bosher is here to go along with us, and so this is good to have him with us on the project here. So you can see where the large publics and major BP have got this Mancos gas drilling up here, WPX on these wells here, and then BP right here. And our McSims project in the north is up here in the gas window. Encana, along with WPX here in the south, large independently funded or public companies essentially got this going here. And now it's operated by Enduring, DJR, and then Logos has some things here too. Our properties here in the window are here to the east, San Juan Resources. So they've set up a lot of work, and now left it for private equity and some of us independent companies to work on. Again, here's another map, shows the BP Lagos area here to the north, ICAV Lagos, and then our area here, then down to the south, San Juan Resources, right down here in this area. Lagos and Enduring are here, San Juan Basin. Rich, would you like to comment now on the next slide?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Jared. So we'll start off with the oil play down south, and this is generally the area current and past drilling with WPX and Encana, currently DJR and Enduring. These are 60-day IPs, basically from some of the initial wells actually out there. And I just want to give you a sense. Those larger red circles you see over there, that's basically 1,000 barrels a day on a 6-month IP. So they're just extremely good sized production out here. And these wells, we'll talk about this as we go on. These wells are approaching basically 1 million barrels of oil type EURs per well out here, roughly 1.5 mile laterals into the Mancos intervals. Next slide, Jerry. There's just a decline curve from some of the good-sized wells out here, the McGeesy well, 405, 507, 508H, in the same vicinity we just talked about. Again, some first-month IPs, 856 barrels of oil per day. And these EURs are basically 700,000 barrels of oil, almost approaching 1 million barrels of oil EURs per wells out here. And these are, again, 1.5 mile laterals. And they've got a component of gas as well. You can see 1.1 BCF from those wells, or BCF plus. This is a slide of the southern area. On the left-hand side, there's close to, I believe there's over 200 horizontal wells now drilled on the left side there. And by the way, they're separated. You see the black outline, kind of looks like an L shape. That's basically the Jicarilla reservation, which we have stayed off with as far as acreage acquisition. But again, back to the left side, or the left side, or the west side. That is the drilling of the currently of Enduring DJR and the predecessor WPX and Encana. You can see in the southern part of the Jicarilla Nation, EOG is basically leased up 3.5 townships, 21, 3, 4, and 5 west. They are on their second well down there. They're a little bit going to be a little bit up dip and coming out of the basin to the south and the southwest, but over 125 wells permitted. And over on the east side of the Hickory Nation in yellow there, that is San Juan Resources, 25,000 plus acres that we have leased and that we intend to explore these prolific Mancos intervals with. And it is worth pointing out a legacy vertical, 50 million barrels of oil produced. So to the north of us, for example, in 25 North, 1, 2, and a little further to the north, that's the West Puerto Chiquito field and East Puerto Chiquito field. That made 20 million barrels of oil out of the Mancos intervals. Then there's Galavan field that Jerry's dad participated back in the 80s. That's 8 million barrels of oil. And then actually through the Hickory Reservation, 20 million barrels of oil have been produced out of both the Mancos intervals and also the Dakota interval. And then down to the south, you can see just to the right of where it's EOG permitted wells, that's the Rio Puerco field. That's 1.5 million barrels of oil produced out of these same Mancos intervals that have produced all the way from the left side of this map to the right side of this map and to both top and bottom. And so we're sitting basically between 20 million vertically produced barrels of oil, starting all the way back in the 60s to into the early 2000s. And what I'm going to show you here, before you go back there, Jerry, I'm sorry, could you go back one? I'm just going to show you what the geology looks like as you go from the west side, from the enduring WPX area, all the way to the northern part of our acreage, and then down to the southern part of our acreage. This is a cross-section that we just showed you on the previous map. On the left-hand side, the Federal B, the 12, those are the intervals that Enduring and BGR are basically producing from and drilling. And I'll just point them out. If you start the lightest green at the top down to the middle green, that's typically what we refer to as Mancos A. And then the next interval, green down to the darker green, is the Mancos B. And then the darkest green down to the black is approximately the Mancos C. And you can see the purple, those are the perfed intervals for all these vertical wells that were drilled anywhere from the 60s all the way to the 2000s. You can see all the way left to right as you go to the right-hand side, starting with the Amico Federal Oso one. That's in the northern part of our area, all the way down to the southern part of our area, the Romero Federal 34. You can see all the old-time operators, all this oil came out roughly of the A, the B, the Mancos A, the B, and the C. And we are pursuing those the same exact intervals today, but now we're doing it with basically 1 to 2 mile laterals. And the important thing to point out here, the correlation is fairly consistent through the A, the B, and the C, all the way over to the west side. You can see the high resistivity in green. You can see the alternating sands and shales, the sandy, silky parts in yellow. And what's important here is if you go down, for example, Jerry, in the Mancos C in our area, you can see the red. That's in the Mancos C, and you also can see some red in the lower part of the Mancos B. That's porosity over 6%. And you can see as you chase that all the way over to the left side, on the west side, you can see the same porosity development, for example, in the C, and then also a little bit in B too. One additional thing I'd like to point out here is that a couple things. We are about 1,000 feet deeper than they are to the west in the enduring BGR area. They're about 5,200 feet. Total vertical depth, we're about 6,200 feet. So we're going to have a little bit higher pressures. And we are also a little bit thicker. If you look at the ABC on the left and you come over to the right, to the east in our area, you can see we're probably about 100 plus feet thicker in the A, B, and C. So we'll have a little bit more, potential reservoir rock, and source and shale to deal with. This next slide, Jerry, you want to talk about the general overview?
Yeah, this is our executive summary. Thanks, Rich. Executive summary for the Mancos oil opportunity. Key numbers, single well economics, 61% ROI, 509.50 MBOE EUR per well. We have strong shows throughout our AMI area here. We have 2 units here on formed here. You can see them. And then this is the Regina Ranch unit, Lindrith East Regina Ranch unit here. So everything's teed up. We're waiting for permits to be approved. So let's move on to the Mancos gas. This is Bob Brooks. He was at WPX from day one here in the San Juan Basin. And this is when WPX drilled these initial 1 mile laterals here. So take away from there, Rich, Bob's interpretation of this lovely
Sure.
San Juan Basin.
Sure, Jerry. Yeah. Yeah, Bob at WPX did a great bit of work on this. And actually, Bob did some consulting for us as well. And, you know, he and we are convinced basically that, you know, this is one of the premier dry gas plays in the lower 48. And the geology is very similar all the way. You can see from La Plata County in Colorado all the way down to the southeast towards the center part of Rio Arriba in New Mexico. And basically, we see basically 100 PCF Mancos type dry gas potential out here. Next slide, Jerry. Thanks. So this is the Amico wells, which are 2 mile laterals. This is a 4 well composite. These things had a sustained, flat, basic 8-month production of 11 million cubic feet a day. And so, you know, these are just really barn burner wells for the first time that we're seeing, certainly in the San Juan Basin. And actually, you know, speaking about it, you know, short of maybe Pinedale and Jonah with some of the laterals they're doing there, this is some of the largest production in the Western United States right now. Next slide, Jerry. This is basically the Logos wells. Logos have drilled several wells just to the east of the BP/ICAV wells, and just basically to the west of us. It was where the WPX wells initially drilled their 1 mile laterals. These Logos wells are just performing like gangbusters. You see production on the right-hand side, the blue and the black, basically almost 19 million cubic feet a day. And, you know, that's still fairly flat up there after we've got down here 700, 800 hours of production. So that's looking pretty decent so far, the start of those Logos wells.
And they just drilled 3 more this past year the results are as good, if not better.
Oh, super.
I understand. So this shows a cumulative of what Logos has through the end of 2022. And these numbers are a bit skewed because these 5 of these 2 mile laterals have been drilled by Logos from 2021 till now. And 2 of them have already produced 5 BCF since the summer of 2021. So this should take off. This is the well right on our lease line, operated by Blackhawk now, drilled by Black Hills in 2011. Only a Gen 1 frac, 1 mile lateral, 6 BCF EUR, almost at 4 BCF right now. And then, of course, these are the ICAV wells. They all average about 20 a day, between 5 2 mile laterals and 1 mile lateral. So really strong. So, you know, we're very grateful for BP and for WPX coming in here to start the work, and left it for us to do. This map is quite interesting, and I like it. It shows our area here, McSims, here on the we're on the east side of the Carson National Forest. The Hickory Apache Nation is right here. The Black Hills well that we talked about just now, 6 BCF EUR, right on our lease line. And in the original vertical wells of the Mancos, we highlight on here 36 thousand cume, 23,000 cume, 50,000 cume right here. Of course, when
Million
they're
cume.
drilling these initial Mancos wells, these are stories we have from Bob when he was at WPX. They got some funding to drill the 634A and the 634B. They were Mancos B and C wells right on top of each other, and they are just like a clock working with each other at 6 BCF EUR per well. Logos went on to drill even more of these. These are the 2-mile laterals they've done over here. So, or excuse me, that's BP, and then Logos has done other 2-mile laterals over here. Any other thoughts on this slide, Rich?
Yeah, I just the comment is, Jerry has talked in the past about the old Caracas unit up to the north that his dad originally drilled and produced, and it's and he tells a really wonderful story about how it just started off with a couple handful of wells, and that really nobody else would touch, farm into, buy, take a look at, so Jerry Dad could do an exit, but over time, that field started getting produced out, and the number of wells, just basically expanded, exponentially, and wound up with sales, greater than $10 million to Jerry's dad, and over $200 million to when it was sold the last time by Energen. And I guess the point is this area is very similar. I mean, these are all the wells you see out here are the only Mancos wells. So we're looking at a 6-township area, and with less than about 12 producing Mancos gas wells out here. Those are verticals, those are all verticals. And if you look at those vertical wells in purple, 36 million, 37 million, 36 million cubic feet of gas per well, you wouldn't take a second look at these. But fortunately, companies like WPX and Bob Brooks came in here and they drilled their initial wells. Now you've got wells, if you go left to right, what Jerry said, you've got a well that's made 10 billion cubic feet of gas, that one up in the far left, with basically new technology, modern day fracs, and a 2-mile lateral. Sure. Yeah. So just we'll run through the geology and see what the similarities are. This is what the cross section looks like. It's going to go from the west side. The first star is the BP ICAV, those handful of 2-mile laterals that they drilled. And then we're going to go over to the original WPX area, and that Logos is now currently drilling. We're going to go through San Juan's acreage in 30 North, 4 West. And then we'll wind up at the 1-mile lateral that Black Hills drilled in 2011. And again, I just want to point out, ICAV BP 20 BCF EURs, basically the Logos wells are 18 million a day IPs, and then the older technology, the 2011 Black Hills well, is going to be a 6 BCF EUR type well. Okay, so again, going to the log section now, left to right, you can see the 3 intervals: the Mancos A, the Mancos B, and the Mancos C. It's going light green to medium green is the A, medium green to dark green is the B, and then basically dark green down to black is the C. The log sections can be gamma ray, for example. Let's start on these are all vertical wells to basically show you what the section looks like where the horizontal, next to the horizontal wells that were drilled. Let's start on the left side, the 322M. The gamma ray is going to be on the far left. The yellow are going to be the fine grained sands and silts interbedded in Mancos shale. The log right next to it is going to be resistivity. I picked anything over 20 ohms resistivity in green. And then on the far right is going to be the density porosity, and anything over basically 6% porosity is going to be shaded in red. And that's going to be important just in a second here. So on the first, the 322M, which is right next to one of the BP horizontal wells, approaching a 20 BCF EUR for that horizontal well. You can see that BP put that well basically right in the middle of the Mancos B interval. You can see it's got a nice development, probably about 80 to 100 feet of development of porosity greater than 6%. Or so, and then as you move over to the right, or you move to the east, the Logos horizontal well. I'm using the Rosa 64 unit vertical well as my display well here. You can see they also put that in the B, and it looks like really some nice development on the density porosity curve, probably about 40, 50 feet or so. And again, that Logos horizontal is an 18, 19 million cubic feet a day crude.
This is our executive summary of what we put out there. We think we can get probably 48 wells across this unit. We have some pads off unit already permitted, and we've had a NEPA decision on them, in fact. And our unit's been designated, so we're putting all the pieces together. That key number here with a conservative $2.75, $3.50 ROI to the investor on a single well is 106%. That's not promoted. So once you get drilling, these wells are quite economical, even in the high twos, low $3 per MCF. Again, 19 to 20 BCF EUR per 2-mile lateral. Yeah, so this was Caracas in 1988. It had been a gas supply unit with El Paso Natural, or maybe Phillips had this, but you can see a whole bunch of dry holes. My dad's company, when I worked for him, we acquired a bunch of the leases up in this area. We formed this as a Dakota exploration unit, and folks wouldn't touch us with a 10-foot pole. What do you guys know? The Fruitland coal bed was developing to the south, a township or two to the south and west of us. But so my dad was able to cobble some money together, and he put together some drilling, put a CDP, pipelines, drilled these wells. These are all connected by other wells. So from 89 to 99. Got up to 9 million feet of gas a day, and really a lot of work every day to keep the Fruitland coal bed methane turned into a Fruitland coal bed methane unit. And then he discovered a really good PC zone up here too. And then by the time 2000 came around, he divested the property for $19 million. Energen eventually got a hold of it and put more wells in and more lines, and did that up until 2017. Then they increased the production with horizontal technology and horizontal wells, and divested in 2014 for $225 million. So what initially started as a dry pool out there really was quite amazing. So it just goes to show you that in a really good basin, good new technology, and if you have the willingness to stick with it and get after it, then a lot of good things can happen. So that's our presentation. We really appreciate your time, and give me a call if you have any questions. I'm at area 303-550-5958. Rich, thank you very much. Appreciate your expert view of this, and we'll talk to you all later. For over 50 years, Process Equipment and Service Company, or PESCO, has been proudly designing, building, and maintaining production equipment for its customers. Located in Farmington, New Mexico, PESCO sells and services units from across the western United States, from large majors to small independents like Sunland Resources. PESCO is proud to sponsor the Energy IQ, and they look forward to working with you, supporting the San Juan Basin community in any way they can. Whiptail Midstream operates crude oil, natural gas, and water gathering systems in the San Juan Basin to handle growing production from the Mancos Shale. With more than 500 miles of well-positioned infrastructure, Whiptail is capable of delivering 38,000 barrels of oil per day, 100 million cubic feet of natural gas per day, while gathering and safely disposing of 8,000 barrels per day of produced water. Whiptail is an energetic and innovative company, is happy to support improving our energy IQ.